More than 2 years ago, sprinter James Ellington was involved in an horrific motorbike crash. He suffered career-threatening injuries, including a compound fracture of his right leg.
Because I broke my pelvis and pulled my pelvis apart, and it's obviously got plates in it now, and it's got a nail just snapped in, which I didn't even take out. It's kind of like, yeah, I'll go to the track and do a run. Sometimes it hurts, or sometimes it doesn't, or it doesn't. Listen, I'm confident now, yeah, with my bruck-up self, that I will beat any footballer to 30 metres off a standing start now. It's no comparison. The media gas it up, man. I put my feet up and just visually focus, turn myself into an animal. That's me. I wasn't looking at Carlos. I was looking at his success on the track. That's what inspired me. Yeah? Seeing him win gold medals for his country. Right? That's what got me into athletics. So, number one, if people were looking at any glitz and glamour, that's the wrong thing. You're not cut out for sport anyway. And at one point, I was thinking to myself, I don't even know if I'm going to make the start line. So for me, I was just like, right, I was in so much pain walking out. I was injured walking out to the race. But you know what? I'm a tough person, so if there's any chance physically that I'll get back on the track, I'll be on the track.
What's going on, guys? Hope you're all staying safe and keeping active. We are back with another episode of the Athletics Productionz podcast, which is available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Victor, and special guest, James Ellington. James, how's things going for you, man?
Hello. Yeah, things are going okay, man. Things are going okay. I'm just in the same boat as pretty much everyone else at the moment, so.
Okay, cool. Where are you at? Whereabouts are you at the moment? Are you in the UK or are you training overseas?
So I'm currently over in Dubai. I've been back and forward between here and the UK for the past 9-10 months. But obviously with flight restrictions and all the rest of it now, I'm pretty much stuck here until they ease up.
Okay.
So are you able to train while you're in Dubai, obviously, because of the stricter rules?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I've been kind of keeping myself fit with circuits and stuff in my house, in the place I'm staying. And I started to go to the park for the last week. One of the parks has just opened up, so I've been doing a few tempo sessions on like a soft track they have down there. So that's about as much as I can do at the moment. Most of the gyms are still closed as well, so yeah.
So a lot of bodyweight exercises and
exactly, yeah.
Do you at least have resistance bands?
Yeah, I do. I don't really use them, but still, but yeah, I've got them. So it's a lot of body work, body weight stuff, and prehab conditioning stuff.
All right, cool. So, I mean, firstly, I just want to go back and let's come forward. So let's start off how you even came into the sport in the first place. So where did it all start for you, man?
So it started for me as I've always loved athletics as a youngster, even from the age of 3-4, something just attracted me to athletics when I used to see it on TV. And obviously the usual pathway, we go through school, you're the fastest in the class, and then you wait for your sports days and so on and so forth. But it wasn't until, I think I was about 12, 13, I started going to my local club, which was Ladywell. I started training in Lewisham. And then I moved up to Crystal Palace, and I was just doing kind of club athletics for a few years. But it was more my mum kind of keeping me occupied, so I didn't really get into trouble and stuff. And and then when I did start winning things as like a under 15, and I started to enjoy it because obviously every kid likes to win.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that, and that's what kind of kept me in touch with athletics. But it wasn't until really, I'd say I was 26 years old after the first Olympics, 2012, that I went to, that I actually started training full time. A lot of people don't know this, but up until 2012, I only trained 3 days a week. So,
seriously?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you managed to achieve everything that you've done with just training 3 days a week, and you've got youngsters out here that are killing themselves to train 4 or 5 days a week.
Exactly. So that was it. I mean, I did and I didn't really know much better. I think the coach I was with at the time, he didn't really understand kind of what it took to get to that sort of level and sustain it. So I mean, I was flirting with not world-class kind of times, but because I was only training 3 days a week, it wasn't something that was really kind of, it was sporadic. I was up and down, you know what I'm saying? And it was after I kind of bummed out in the heats in the Olympics in 2012 that actually I sat down with some people and I was like, they couldn't believe it. They was like, you train 3 days a week? I was like, I swear down, I train 3 days a week. They was like, listen, we need to get you into a proper program. And that's when I moved up to Loughborough and started training with a guy called Rainer Ryder at the time. And then my career kind of started building from there.
So were you playing other sports or were you just athletics, just every now and then, like 3 days a week?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, when I was kind of I'd say 2011 was my first year on the team. 2010 it should have been, but I tore my hamstring 9 centimeters that year. But it was kind of up until the age of 16, I was doing rugby as well. So I played rugby a bit, which I enjoyed and I was good at it, but I kind of wanted to be in a sport that actually I decided my own fate. So yeah, once I was doing athletics, there was no other sport that I was really kind of involved in.
Well, we had a look at some of your times from your first 4 seasons in athletics, and I think you raced 3 times in a year, in a season, or 4 times in a season.
I remember thinking, right, I want to just do national championships, maybe Bedford Games and a couple others. That's about it. So,
to be fair, Crystal Palace was a place everyone used, wasn't it? Like Crystal Palace, Birmingham, I mean, it was one of the places for English schools and stuff. So you must have been excited seeing that. Yeah,
Palace was a hub for youths. Like you had a lot of good youngsters coming from South London, especially through Crystal Palace, and kind of like the club coaches there. And then obviously back then we'd have the Grand Prix, the Crystal Palace Grand Prix, when you'd have all the superstars come over and compete, which was, I mean, I remember from the age of 15 to about 18, I was always sneaking in to watch it. And then I remember, I think I was 19 when I first competed there in a guest race, but it was always a dream of mine to compete there.
So being that you train there from time to time, is that how you learned where you could sneak in?
Yeah,
or did you just go, no, I'm going to train?
Yeah, and I had that thing on Smash. I knew all the little kind of hang drop locations where you can get into the stadium and that. You know what I'm saying? So back then I didn't have money to be kind of buying a ticket for that X amount, so I just had to get my way in. So
speaking on the money side of things, like with everything that goes on in athletics with sponsorships and some people having to fund themselves to get by in this sport, how are you doing with being overseas at the moment and just everything that's happened in the last few years with you?
I mean, with the state of athletics anyway, it's kind of it's not one shoe fits all. Everyone's kind of in different boats with regards to kind of what they earn. And if you do know anything kind of about athletics, it's a tough sport to earn good money. But then saying that, if you can get to the top and you can get in the right races or win medals, and you can earn a decent living. But again, it's so pressured because you have to perform constantly year in, year out. You could have an amazing contract and then get injured or have a car crash and then it all goes out the window. Do you know what I'm saying? Currently for me, obviously, like, I mean, my athletics was my job. So for me right now, it's pretty tough. I mean, I do get by with other bits and pieces and events and speaking events and all the rest of it. But because I was a full-time athlete, it was kind of, I relied on my funding and sponsorships. And saying that as well, kind of because the year that I crashed, I mean, the year previous to that, it was the first year that I actually focused on 100 meters, and I was doing I ran like 6 PBs that year, and I was like, right, at least I found my event now. After
you were more of a two guy to begin with, innit?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, I went to World Juniors in 2004 for the 100. And that was kind of 100 was my event. And then because I broke through onto the senior team in the 200s, I just kind of stuck to it because I was like, oh, you know what, maybe it's my event, but it never really was. And and I think I showed that in 2016. So going into 2017, I was super excited. I was like, yeah, I know what I can do, and I want to do a lot of damage this year. And I had a lot of things, a lot of deals and stuff on the table going into 2017 that I was going to sign. And then obviously once I crashed, that all gets swept away. So, and I'm not saying I do it for the money, because you do it for the love of the sport. That's what you do it for first. But it is a nice incentive. It's a nice reward and bonus to be able to do what you love and be able to make a decent living.
At the end of the day, it's your job, innit? Like, if you go to work as many times as athletes do, which is basically train, you would want something back, because you guys are not working like everyone else. You know, a lot of you are not going to 9 to 4, so that's your only way of income. Then when it's taken away from you, you know, it can change your life. But a lot of us we've all been inspired by what you've been doing on Instagram. Like, I remember the first time I followed you on Instagram, and I think you posted a video about, this was like a few months after your accident, but then you were like, I couldn't walk, or like people say I couldn't walk, and now look what I'm doing. But you were lifting some nice weights. Maybe not what you were lifting before, but you were lifting probably more than I can. You know, I got inspired by that as well, as a lot of my friends did. Like, I'm only 24, so seeing that sort of encouraged a lot of us to keep on training. You know, if you have the determination in you, it can drive you further up. And it's and for instance, now this year, I think you can say to yourself, you have moved ladders. You know, you've broken barriers that probably no one expected you to break. And how is that for you? Like, talking to other people about your situation, and then how do you feel? You know, when you talk about it, you know, is it a sore subject for you, or do you get inspired, you know, by when you talk about it and what people say?
Well, I mean, firstly, appreciate it following me and stuff. I think for me, kind of, it's all about your, obviously you hear this all the time, it's all about your mindset, but it literally is all about your mindset. And kind of, the people that know me within the sport know that I've always kind of been pretty outspoken. I've always been an open book. So when I did have the accident, and obviously kind of documenting my steps through my recovery and putting it on social media and all the rest of it, I actually didn't do that I didn't do it for any sort of kind of recognition or anything like that, or I weren't purposely going out there to go, right, I want to put this on because it's going to inspire people, because I was documenting my training before that, right? So to me, it's just like a bit of a training diary. But obviously with the responses that I had from it, it was amazing, because I didn't set out to do it for that reason. And then the amount of messages I was getting saying, like, basically the same things that you just said, it touched me, man, because I was like, raw, okay, cool. This is helping other people as well, and kind of motivating people, which is, that's a good thing. In regards to kind of speaking about the accident and stuff, I enjoy speaking about it. Like I said, I've always been an open book, and a lot of people have always said, oh, you've been very open with your accident and kind of showing yourself so vulnerable on your videos and all the rest of it. And to me, it's not really, that's just how I've always been anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't really front or hide stuff. I just kind of put it out there. On the other hand, I'm a very private person. I don't have my private life, but my social media, if you see it, it's all my athletics. It's all my road to recovery. Every now and again, you might see some stupid video of me flipping, taking a picture of a sunset or something stupid. Other than that, it's pretty much athletics based.
Listen, man, ain't nothing wrong with a sunset.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with a sunset.
Exactly.
I mean, how has that shaped you as a person, and in taking, I assume, like, more cautious steps towards like things that you do you would do on a normal day-to-day basis that you probably can still do, just not to the same extent. And bearing in mind that you're trying to, like, you're back in the sport, but you're trying to still get back to that level that you left it at 2017. Like,
I mean, it's hard, because obviously most athletes' mentality is kind of, we push ourselves to the limits and we kind of really put ourselves to the grind in terms of training. So you have to be aware and have the balance of knowing that, especially kind of going back a year and a half, 2 years ago as well. But actually, my body isn't going to be capable of what I was doing before at this point in time. So you need to be aware, because you don't want to mess yourself up again or hurt yourself even more. which has been a balancing act. But again, it kind of, I've always said to people that you got to try and take the positives out of every single situation. So kind of going through this process back to where I am now, I focused more on kind of things that you wouldn't even focus on when you're healthy and not injured, like small stabilization muscles, all sorts of things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, it's given me time to focus on the things that I wouldn't have focused on before. 1 second. Can I'll open the door for 1 second?
Yeah, that's cool.
Of course you can. No problem, man.
1 second. All right. You can either edit this out. I'll keep it in.
It's all right, man. This is real life.
Cool. Cheers. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. So kind of, you just gotta be aware of what you're doing, and because my mind's still the same as it was before I got injured. But obviously my body isn't, and I'm still dealing with kind of niggles and pains and stuff. So yeah.
At this point in time, what sessions do you find the most challenging? Is there any particular session that you find challenging?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's probably the running, to be honest with you. I think because I mean, gym wise, I can pretty much do similar, pretty much do the same things I was doing before. Obviously with a little bit less intensity. Yeah. But actually, when it comes to the running, because I broke my pelvis and pulled my pelvis apart, and it's obviously got plates in it now, and it's got a nail that's snapped and all that, which I didn't even take out. It's kind of like, I'll go to the track and do a run, and sometimes it hurts, or sometimes it doesn't, or it doesn't hurt, and I thought, oh yeah, you know what, this feels like it was before. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, and so now I might do something, and then the next day I'm in bits, like my hips flared up, and I'm just like, oh my god. So it's tough, but you know what, I'm a tough person, so if there's any chance physically that I'll get back on the track, I'll be on the track.
All right, so you said like you're in pain like after some sessions. Are you back to doing like 3 days a week, or do you just tailor that training for the next day so it's something that you can handle?
I've kind of just had to adapt it as I've gone along. Saying that, it's frustrating because literally I had an injection into my hip about 2 weeks before the lockdown happened, and it helped a lot, right? So I was like, right, boom, and then I managed to get my first week with back-to-back sessions. I got 3-4 sessions out of that week, track sessions, tempos on 4.2s, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, here we go now. And then lockdown happened, and I was like, oh my god. So now I've got to kind of wait now, and I'm feeling okay, but see what happens once the lockdown's over, if I can get back into it. You know what I'm saying?
Do you miss doing what session was it? 10 flat twos?
Oh no. Yeah, stupid, ridiculous.
Because I remember you talking about that, and I was just thinking, just one would be so hard, especially like at your speed and level as well. That would be so hard to do for the likes of me. And I was just like, that's insane. Like, what session do you miss the most then? Like, or what do you enjoy doing now? Do you enjoy the tempo stuff? I enjoy the tempo stuff. So what do you currently enjoy now?
Currently at the moment, I just enjoy being able to do tempo because it's like an achievement. But when I was fit and healthy, what would be my favorite session? I'd say maybe like a 150, 120 down, or even like kind of in the season when you do like a time trial 300. I enjoy those sessions.
That's interesting because all the faster athletes that we've done, and I say that because we've had a jumper on there as well. They've always said, "Oh, it's like block work. It's the fly 30s and stuff like that." And you're the only person that's gonna said like a 150 or a time trial 300. So interesting.
Yeah. Do you know why? Because when you can slap down a proper fast 300 or 150, you know you're in shape. Yeah. With blocks and stuff, I mean, I don't really enjoy blocks, but with blocks and flying 30s and stuff, you can you get a glimpse, but it's not. There's so many people out there that can get out the blocks to 20 and then suddenly think they're in 9-9 shape and then go around 10-8. Or there's people that can run a couple fast flying 30s and they think, Whereas if I go and drop a 32 low in a 300, I know I'm ready to roll. But if I drop off 15-0, 15 dead 150, I know I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So that's probably why I enjoy those sessions. Yeah.
Why don't you like block work?
Say that again?
I heard you say you don't like block work, and for a sprinter, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't you like block work? That's like part of your bread and butter, no?
Yeah, because you know what? Because I think my start's always been so inconsistent, and obviously I've worked on it, but because I've always kind of done the twos before.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something a professional athlete should say, but like I said, I'm honest. I've not really kind of focused on it, and for some reason, when I'm on the bend, I've always been able to get out of the blocks, not a problem. Like I don't know if you, but every time I've been in a two, you see me blast the bend. I come out of the blocks.
Yeah.
But then you book me 100, and it's like 50-50. So I don't know if that's psychological or what, but I started. These are one of the things that I started to really work on going in 2017. I started nailing some block session. I was like, woo, people are gonna be in trouble. But yeah, didn't happen.
I mean, you know, like with most sports, it is all mental. Like it is a mental thing. But I know a few athletes as well who say, "Oh, when I do the 100, my start it's not the same, but then I go do the 2." And you would never believe that it's the same person. So I don't know, maybe it is like generally a thing, or it's just one of those, like it's one of those days. Sorry, I'm sitting in a place where I'm trying to avoid the sun. So if I move around, just don't worry. But yeah, like I think it's interesting to know that like as sprinters, you have that drop in between your performances where you can have a great 100 and a semi-okay 200, or a great 200 start, and then the 100 it's not as great, because that must kind of play with you mentally as well, because like, why can't I transfer this to this?
Yeah, I mean, again, number one, I think definitely I think it's psychological, because I think when you're doing the 200, you're aware that you don't really have to get out of the blocks as good as you might in 100. So maybe you're more relaxed, and then maybe because you're more relaxed, therefore you get out every time in the 200. Whereas in the 100, obviously you're aware that, right, it's not a be all and end all, but you need to set your race up correctly. So, but saying that, I mean, it was 50-50. Sometimes if I set my race up nice, boom, like I'd get out, and I knew that if I was with anybody to 10, 20 meters, then I'm in a good position, because I'm not known as being a starter. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely psychological, and it didn't really play on my mind. I was just aware of it, but these are the things that I was trying to tune going into 2017. Is
there a particular training partner that you've had in the past that's made you say, "Right, okay, cool, I'm with them, so I know it's getting better"?
Nobody in particular. It's kind of like, you know who can start, and they get, like, for example, like every year we'd go to South Africa in January. I'd say probably from 2013 up until 2016, whatever. And then it started becoming Tenerife. But in January, I'd do block sessions with somebody like, I don't know, for example, Harry or somebody like that, right? And they would normally kill me. For some reason, in January, my body just isn't firing. So I'd be fit and conditioned and shape, and I could run longer stuff, but they literally destroy me to like, we do 30-meter block sessions, I'll be 5 meters back. But I always expected it, because I knew come season, once the spring starts, something just changed in me, and I'd be able to compete. But January I crashed in Tenerife that year. I was actually getting out of the blocks with a couple of people, known starters. And I was like, right, if I'm getting out of the blocks with these guys now in January, when I know I'm never firing in January, and I haven't really kind of changed too much, I've just focused more on kind of the blocks and the emphasis of being a 100-meter runner, and what's going to happen in the spring. So that's kind of how I gauged myself. And yeah, there was nobody in particular. I just knew that if I could keep up with certain people, I'd be nice.
Does that relate to, obviously some people being being indoor runners? Because I remember, like, I never used to like indoors. For some reason, I just never liked indoors. Could that be something, like, did you like indoors, or was it just like outdoor summer, that's my thing? I
loved indoors, yeah. And I was very successful as a junior indoors. I've got quite a few national titles and stuff indoors, over 60 amateur. But as a senior athlete, I knew that the indoors didn't really mean nothing. You could win a indoor European or world indoor medal or whatever the case may be, and you could get a good contract, make good money, but it doesn't necessarily translate to outdoors. And once the outdoor season starts, people forget about the indoors. So my thing was, I mean, my 60 meter PB is in that class. I think it's 667 or something. My PB is, but if you knew why I ran 667, then you'd understand why. Because when I do the odd indoor race, whether it was even the trials or whether it was just a one-off race in indoors, I never, ever, ever tapered or trained for it. So I'd stay in my winter program, and then I'd use it as just kind of a tester to see where I was at, right? So a lot of people would go there, they'd run fast, great for them, and sometimes we translate outdoors as well. But I'd never go there and come back disheartened, because I'd be like, right, if I'm running 6.6 now and I know I'm still doing 300s and 250s and I'm not a starter, I'm in good shape. So I always invested and didn't want to cut out those 4 or 5 weeks of training. I'd be thinking about the outdoor season, the bigger picture.
Did you ever get your coach telling you that, or was that an intrinsic thing? Did you think that yourself? Because some people might be waiting for, your coach to tell you, oh yeah, you're in better shape for the outdoors, or you're prepping for this. Or did you always just think, nah, I prefer the outdoors, I like the outdoors, the indoors is just what it is?
Yeah, I just knew there was more rewards for outdoors. I didn't want to risk kind of missing a big block of my training. As much as I love to do the indoors, it was just, for me, the outdoors was way more important. So I was fortunate, you know what, I'll test the water and see what shape I'm in, but I'm not gonna take anything from it. I just want to see where I'm at. And it's kind of like, yeah, I would have liked to have competed indoors, but it weren't worth me getting outdoors and thinking, oh, you know what, if I didn't cut this training, maybe I would have done this. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I run 6.5. That means I'm gonna run 9.9. Easy.
Don't mean anything, man. It don't mean anything.
I mean, I got a question. Like, based off of how things were going for you, first race back, you ran a 10.9. What did that mean to you?
It meant a lot, man. It meant it was another milestone in my journey back. It wasn't the time though. It was just more of just being able to finish a race. I mean, that year, I was literally, anything you saw on my social media was what I did. No more.
Yeah.
I was, and going into that race, I was in bits. I could hardly warm up. My hip felt like it was just going to rip off my flipping body. And I was, at one point, I was thinking to myself, I don't even know if I'm going to make the start line. So for me, I was just like, right, I was in so much pain walking out. I was injured walking out to the race. I was like limping. I was thinking, Jesus, but I was trying to hide it. And then once the adrenaline, like standing in front of the crowd and all the rest of it, I thought, maybe I'm all right. until I did like 3 steps out the blocks, and then I could feel it like wanting to pull off, and I was like, oh my God. So I just kind of went through the motions. And for me, it was just, it meant a lot. It was just a milestone in the journey coming back. With people said I wouldn't be able to run again, so that's what it meant for me. I wasn't worried about the time and all that.
That's class.
See, that's one of the things that I love about determination, because everyone's there saying, "Oh, he's never going to run again. He's never going to do this. He's not going to do it," and you're out here proving them wrong. And I think for a lot of the young athletes coming through as well, and you get a lot of teachers who will say, "Oh, you're never going to be anything. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that." They can just look at it and say, well, right, he was in a motorbike accident and he's come back and he's still doing it, and he's pushing through, and he's getting back to where he used to be. So for any young athletes that are looking at this at the moment, like just know everything's possible. Anything is possible.
Trust me, 100%.
I don't know if you're willing to speak on this. Obviously, we can cut this out at some point if it's not okay. What's your relationship like with Nigel now since the accident?
To be honest, we just kind of gone our own ways, man. I don't know. I'm not too sure if he's still in the sport or not. But yeah, I haven't really. To be honest, I haven't heard from most of the training group, because obviously I'm not with Olympus group now anyway.
Yeah. Are you training by yourself?
At the moment, yeah. So I'm still cool with Olympus. I still chat to him all the time. But yeah, I don't even know I don't know what the other people are doing. So right now, I think everyone's on a different path, and my path is to try and get back into the sport like the best way possible. So.
Respect that.
On a more positive note, what was it like when you ran a 4x1 gold? You know, and I think didn't you win the Euros as well, or was it the Commonwealth?
Yeah, no, we
both.
Won Euros twice, and then we got silver at the Commonwealths.
Yeah, what was that like for you? You know, working so hard and going out there and doing your thing. You know, training with that group as well for such a long period of time. Yeah,
I mean, relay is my favourite event, if I'm being honest. But I love the relay because you get to experience, if you're successful, you get to experience it with your team members. And it's more fun, you know what I'm saying? Whereas there's a lot more pressure on the individual fence. I know we've turned into this relay culture now where everyone's putting so much pressure in the relays, and we're doing really well, to be honest, which is a good thing. But I think there really is something to enjoy. It used to be back in the day something you do at the end of a competition, and it's like a bonus. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I miss the relays, the camaraderie. I miss all that. Yeah, trust me, man. But nah, like British athletics and that, so flipping hung up on relay. They're scared, man. Like it's like a safer option. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you got like youngsters like OJ, who was the British champion, who is not funded. You got people like James DeSolu in 2016, who was a British champion, who is not funded. And that's because they won't dance along to the hymn sheet of, right, you need to conform to the relays and do this, otherwise you're not getting funding, because they're scared. Because you're taking a safe option, but athletics isn't about taking the safe options, mate. You got to go out there, what you believe in, and compete. And actually, if you get more of a competitive culture like the States, for example, like the States don't ramp. You go to the trials, if you're not top 3, we don't care who you are, you're not on the team. And what that does, that keeps their team evolving and keeps them solid, because people that make the team have to be on point. They can't sit back and be comfortable. And the relay for them is just a joke thing. It's like, right, we do that at the end of our main events, and they still do well, right? So, you know what I'm saying? That breeds more success, really, long term. Like, obviously, we've done well in the relays, but they're so scared to fund an individual because they don't have the belief. They don't have the belief in their own athletes individually. What are you there for, mate? It's madness.
Yeah, because you have to support. But could it be a thing of comparison, you know, trying to compare themselves to bigger countries in a way? Because the US is a massive country. They've got a bigger pool. Could they be trying to compare themselves to, US every Olympics get this many medals? We don't, you know, have we ever got top 3? You know, we're never really up there.
Do you know what? Number one, you can't compare yourself because, like you said, America is a big country and there's way more people, right? Number 2, we've got the same gene pool. We've got just as much talent sprint-wise as the States. Yeah, we've probably got more actually if you go to ratio to numbers of people. Look how many young sprinters we got right now that can run sub-10. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's a coward's mentality, man. Like you can't. How do you expect individuals to evolve and become gold medalists if you want, number one, support them? I'm not saying they need the support to make it to the top, but it does help a little bit more if you've got the support, especially from your own governing body who's supposed to be supporting you. Yeah, there's just so many things I could say about it. It's just a joke, man.
Because even if you look at it, in the way of if youngsters are looking at, you know, the likes of everyone that has been to the Olympics, that have been to the international comps, and they're going like, I saw you, you know, you're not even driving this car or what, you know, people see it that way. People see it as a luxury lifestyle when they see you on TV. Well, that's what they assume anyway. But a lot of athletes are not in that situation. A lot of people, if you haven't got a sponsor, you're not in that situation. You're having to deal with that yourself. So how are people meant to keep growing the sport or keep getting involved in the sport? There'll always be speed. There will always be speed. It's just, will this speed come into athletics or go somewhere else?
You know, how they could improve the sport?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of like, number one, when I used to look at Olympia Christie as a kid, we didn't have social media, but I wasn't looking at cars. I was looking at his success on the track. That's what inspired me, yeah? Seeing him win gold medals for his country, right? That's what got me into athletics. So, number one, if people are looking at any glitz and glamour, that's the wrong thing. You're not cut out for sport anyway. You shouldn't even be looking at it, right? And number two, it's kind of like, if you just focus on your passion and focus on what you believe you can achieve. I'm not saying everyone can achieve what they believe they can achieve, because it's tough. But if you do succeed in achieving it, and you like that stuff as well, which, I mean, everyone likes a bit of money in their pocket, that will come. But you can't focus on that. And again, it's kind of like, I just think the whole thing just needs to be brought down and rebuilt, because every kid gets into athletics because they love the sport and they love to compete. And then when you do get to sort of, yeah, exactly. But because when you get into the system and then suddenly you realize that actually they're not really there to kind of support you. They're there to provide their own company with jobs and have big wages. So the reason why they're not going to put an individual into even if you've got the A standard and you've earned your place for the Olympics, whatever, they might not even put you in that spot, yeah? Because they think, oh, actually, if I put James in 100, and even though he's run 10.0 this year, he's probably not going to get a medal at the Olympics, right? And actually, yeah, kind of ratios for our funding from UK sport, it's not going to look good because we sent so many athletes there who've come back with no medals. We're not going to get our funding for the next 4 years. That's what I believe it's about. So, I don't know, man. It's just, I think you need to...
It's actually not about the athletes. It's more about the people who you don't see on a day-to-day basis.
100%, man. Otherwise, why have we got a young British champion that was not individually funded? Talking about OJ. Why was he not funded? Do you know what I'm saying? Why was James Asolu not funded after winning British champs in 2016? This is the second fastest British 100-meter run of all time, and he's not funded.
Do you also think that the way that British athletics like to portray athletes in the media doesn't help? Did that come through? Or?
I don't know. I don't think they do enough. Do you know what I think?
Favoritism-wise.
Yeah, I mean, well, if there is any of that stuff, which there is, I just think you kind of, athletics ain't that sort of sport. You need to, like I said, you need to have it like the Americans. If you just leave the athletes to themselves to compete, yeah, they'll create their own stars within the sport. Yeah, you don't need to nurture. There's no point nurturing a certain person because you've got a little agenda, or because just lead everyone to evolve. If you let everyone evolve, then it's just going to create more success. It's going to be more competitive. It's going to be a tougher team, and you're going to have better competitors. But when you've got like somebody going to a national champs, and they have to make sure they get top 2, otherwise they're not going to the champs. Or you got another guy that's kind of, hold on, what's going on here? Yeah, I think everyone should just be put in the same boat, man. Simple. And then just leave it to naturally evolve, and that's the way you get more success and stuff like that.
I think I completely agree. Like, you know, everyone gets into sports to solve, develop, see how far they can physically push themselves. And, you know, if you get support on the way, great. If you don't, you're going to have to find a way to. I think a lot of people that are running, a lot of people that are running 10-1, 10-2 probably have jobs because they can't get funded, depending on what age group they're in. And you're having to sort of deal with all that and, you know, work life and then training. You know, that's a full-time job and training. That's hard. You know, a lot of Americans don't do that. Some Americans do it in the collegiate system, but the collegiate system is different. So I think in general, the kid, like the younger ones should just be all developed at the same time to all be encouraged and probably sometimes shuffle it around. Just mix it around so everyone can be in the mix. Because I think surely every year there's about 10 kids where you think, wow, these people are going to be up there. But if you stick to that 10 kids for the next 5 years, it's not exactly realistic, because then you're losing some other people who are falling in the tracks.
Yeah, no, it's super tough. I mean, athletics is a tough sport, man. Like I said, it's kind of, you've got to have that drive and that passion. Yeah, exactly. As I always say to people, who gets up and busts their ass on a track day in, day out for no guarantee.
When it's
Because everyone's
raining,
off on a
when it's cold, when it's cold, in the winter days.
Exactly. So I think all of us
commend
are a
you
bit
guys
crazy anyway.
highly. I commend you guys
Yeah, it's
highly.
tough.
When I was doing track and field as a teenager, honestly, that was like the nah. I don't have that. I ain't got that drive to be out here in minus degree weather and be training and I'm sitting there just slumped at the bus stop and the bus is just driving past because I ain't got the energy to get out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have it. So to the guys who have it and they can push on through day in and day out, every summer, like well done to you guys, man, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. It is not easy at all, man. But
so going forward, obviously this year's a write-off completely. I suppose in some sense it works for you because it gives you more time to get yourself into a place where you want to be. What are your aims going forward?
Just to kind of get my body right, number one, because without that I'm not going to do anything. And then just get ready for next year. Like you said, it's a blessing for me that it's been pushed back because it gives me more time to sort myself out. So the next couple of months, depending on kind of what's going on in the world, hopefully it sorts itself out a bit and tracks and stuff might be open again. And I'll tick over and stay strong for the next couple of months and probably start some sort of winter very early. Actually, I normally start back late October, early November. Sometimes I was kind of a late one, but I think this year maybe late September I could start back. Just so I don't leave no rock unturned, and then I can go into the next year hopefully on a level playing field with everybody else, man.
I like that. I've got some quick fire questions for you. This is how I like to end most of our interviews. What is your favorite dish before training, after training, and off season?
Before training, off season, off season. Before training, I'd probably say something probably like a boring couple boiled eggs and avocado, so I don't throw up everywhere.
Cool.
After training, you can't beat, I don't know, good bit of chicken, man. So maybe some Nando's chicken or Rooster. Actually, let's go budget Rooster's chicken if you know about Roosters.
Yeah, listen, Roosters and Pepe's. The people need to not sleep on that. Trust me.
Exactly. I think Roosters is better, man. Roosters is good. Yeah, exactly. Good
Wait. You're saying Roosters is better than Nando's? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, because maybe I might get an opportunity to get a sponsorship from Nando's in the future. So.
Okay, cool.
Price comparisons, Roosters is good food for your buck.
Cool.
And post season, I'd say probably a good old burger, man. I love a good burger. Five Guys burgers, any burgers. Actually, no. I'll tell you. In Shepherd's Bush Chicken Kitchen, they got a fried dumpling and jerk burger.
Up to now, it's down the road for me. I've never been.
What?
I've never been. But I'm gonna plug you in right now. Yeah, on Instagram, follow Mess Burger. I'm telling you now, it's one of the best. Mess Burger is one of the best things you'll ever taste when it comes to a burger. Just letting you know that from now.
I'll follow them.
What about in Dubai? Have you had like shawarma?
Oh yeah, that's standard. That's everywhere.
Love a shawarma.
They got everything out here. They got Cheesecake Factory. They got too many bad things out here that you just want to eat.
What is your pre-race ritual?
Pre-race ritual. I normally do like a pre-meet warm up in the hotel if I'm in a hotel. I normally get to the track probably a couple of hours before the race. I normally sit down, listen to some hard UK rap or some drum and bass music. Put my feet up and just visually focus, turn myself into an animal. That's me.
All right. So next question. So is drum and bass and UK rap your favorite genre of music? Or does it vary?
No, it varies. I like everything, but they're good to get me hyped. But when I'm at home and that, I listen to like soft music, man. I listen to like Celine Dion and stuff like that.
Swear down.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. I feel that. What is your favorite holiday destination?
Favorite holiday destination? That's tough, man. That is a tough question. Amsterdam and Jamaica.
I can Amsterdam. I can say yeah. I've not been Jamaica yet, so
Yeah, neither.
it's pending. It's pending.
Yeah.
And lastly, to any young athletes that are coming up, what advice would you give to them?
I'd say stay true to yourself. Don't get caught up in the hype, and know why you're doing what you're doing. If you're competing and doing it for the love of the sport, and you want to be successful in competing, that you're on the right track. But if you're thinking about all the other stuff, if you're thinking about money or any of that stuff, you're on the wrong track. So, yeah.
Go football.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Actually, I got another question for you. I got one more. Would you like to see, because everyone, like, there's always these comparisons about how fast footballers are compared to sprinters.
Yeah.
If there was ever to be like a competition where they have their top 5 fastest footballers in the UK versus the top 5 sprinters, would you take part in that?
Of course, 100%. Listen, I'm confident now, yeah, with my bruck up self that I will beat any footballer to 30 meters off a standing start now. There's no comparison. The media gas it up, man. You know what it's like. It's a different speed, man. It's different speed.
Of course, we know
saying
this.
It. Yeah,
we know
it.
this. But when their man are there doing it and they're in their football boots and they're on grass and these things, I'm like, all right, cool. We'll take it to the track and let's see. Like, Lee Valley's there, Palace is there, Birmingham's there. You got all these places that you could go to. So I say they should make it happen. But yeah, man. Honestly, thank you for taking time out your day to come on here.
No
Obviously, conditions wise, it's not the greatest, but we will definitely get you on when things are back up and running in London, and we can sit down and have a proper chat. All right, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks,
Thanks again.
Yeah, no worries.
Easy, man.